Vodkast.
Hey, Jeff Manchester Music. Welcome to another Vodkast. It's been a little while. Got my soda water. I'm minus the vodka today, but we're going to do it anyway. I don't want to spend too much time talking about why it's been so long since I last posted a video. Let's just jump into it with the first question, which comes from YouTube land. It is from Dan Vandergelderen. And the question is, did Adam pay for this? And this is what he wrote on the Adam A7X review that I did. I don't know what he means. Did Adam pay? Does he think that Adam paid me money to do the review? Does he think that it was like a sponsored video? Does he think that Adam, paid? I don't know. But here's what happened. So Adam Audio is a wonderful company. They're really easy to deal with. I think they listen to their customers, and they have some really cool speakers. Especially coming out now, they have a great legacy of, their tweeters and everything like that. But now they have really cool stuff like built-in DSP, which you can control and kind of tune your room to and everything. So I think they're a really awesome company, and they wanted me to talk about the A7Xs. So they sent me a pair. They didn't send me any money, but they said, you can have these, just do a video on them. And I think if you think they paid me, it would not have been money well spent, because if you watch the video, I didn't really like the monitors that much compared to other monitors that I've listened to in this space and out in the world. And that's, again, to say nothing of Adam Audio's quality and their awesome responsiveness and everything. I didn't think they were really good for critical listening. I really like the S series, which I'll link to as well. I think that's just a far more capable monitor for, again, critical listening. Stuff, mixing, mastering, really hearing things. I felt that the A7Xs were a little bit too sharp and bright, which I think means that they might lend themselves well to kind of a consumer market. If you just want to listen to music, want to play stuff you love and hear it back to you. In fact, the person who eventually ended up with those speakers, again, they were mine to do what with. He was just DJing with them, and he ditched some old M Audios and went to, I'm not sure if it was M Audio or whatever, but ditched his old ones, went to the Adam A7Xs, and he was like blown away by the quality of the A7s, again, just for playing stuff back so he could hear it as he was practicing his sets at home. So that's what happened with that video. Adam, I love you. Nothing but love. Adam is wonderful. Let's go to the next question here. So the next question is really a composite of questions. It's the question that I get asked the most by far from people, because it comes from the most popular video that I think I've ever done on this channel, which is a beginner's guide to buying studio monitors. Everyone in the comments and on later videos as well, because I think it's a recommended video, so people will find it. And then anyway, people always ask me, Jeff, I like these monitors. I like these monitors and these monitors. Which one should I buy? Or I have a budget of this much to this much to this much. What should I buy? And they want me to recommend them a set of monitors, and then I guess they're going to go out and buy those. I think that's the wrong way to go about making a decision as important as buying your first studio monitors. Now, I'm also aware of the reality that many of you guys face. By this, I mean, in those videos, I will often say, I don't want to tell you what to do because I don't have your ears. I don't know what these are for. I think you should go out and go to a store and really listen to a couple different sets. Bring an iPhone with some high quality files on it. I know that sounds kind of antithetical, but bring a device, bring a CD. CDs are great. Go buy a used CD that's considered to be a wonderful kind of reference CD for mixing and mastering, and play it through. They'll be more than happy to if they think you're going to spend money at the store, and listen to that stuff on a couple different. So that's what I say. Go listen, use your ears. Now, I got a comment recently that was, to synthesize it, it was basically saying, I get that you want us to go out and listen to these things, but I don't live in a city where I can do that. I don't have like a Long McQuaid or a Sam Ash, or I guess the other one would be, something like Guitar Centers. I don't have that. So I really rely on these videos to inform me about what I might want to do with my money, as it relates to buying a new set of monitors and other things as well, software and that kind of stuff. Software is a little easier to kind of show because I can just play some notes or I can make some EQ moves and you can kind of hear, but you can't hear what I'm hearing in this room like I'm hearing it. So this person was basically saying, I get what you're saying, Jeff, but I I can't do that. I don't have the opportunity, the resources to do that. So what I'm kind of getting to here is like, dude, I hear you. I know that I live in middle of downtown Toronto. I can go to a bunch of different music stores and I can very easily get my hands, just going to make sure I turn off notifications here, get my hands on a cool pair of anything, any product, any audio product I can find and listen to it and play with it. But not everyone can do that. I still think, though, that you really owe it to yourself to try to seek out, some kind of way to hear this stuff for yourself. Even if you can't hear it in your own room, there are forums, there are Facebook groups, there are communities where I think if you're nice enough and polite enough, you can say, hey, my name is this. I'm thinking about buying these. Does anyone have these monitors? Can I just pop over? I'll bring you a 6-pack. Can I just hear what these guys can do? I really think that in order to have, a better kind of sense of your own taste and to sharpen your ears, you need to be hearing the stuff as it comes out, through the drivers and blah, 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 and vibrates through the air and gets to you need to do that stuff because you shouldn't just be listening to me or just going to a forum or whatever. You really owe it to yourself to get in a room and try these things out. I know it's kind of ridiculous and a little utopian that you can just go out on Facebook and find people who will let you into their homes to try their gear and stuff like that. But you could make a new connection. It could be a networking opportunity. I just don't think that my word or anyone's word that you don't know and whose space you are not in should be the final one. That's not good. Now, I'm still going to continue making these monitor reviews because I think that people still find them very valuable. And although I've had some kind of crummy experiences with a couple companies that I've reviewed on the channel, just as far as back and forth and all this stuff, it's been mostly positive. It is a struggle, an annoying struggle to kind of reorient my room, which is pretty small, to accommodate a new kind of gear for the S series, the S3Vs. I literally had to buy new equipment just so I could support the speakers in this space. But as long as you guys still find these videos valuable, the monitor reviews valuable, then I'm going to continue doing them. And if anything, it just gives me a chance to talk about something other than sample libraries because I didn't go to school to review sample libraries. I went to audio engineering school and I left what could have been a pretty promising career in academia to go into music and audio and all things audio. So I never want this channel to just be about sample libraries and composing because there's so many other areas and avenues in this industry that are interesting to me and I think interesting to you guys. And learning about these things with me and with other influencers, I think will make you a more well-rounded kind of audio person. You will know more about the industry. You'll have kind of more expertise. You'll be curious about more stuff. Some people can just kind of focus on one thing. I can't. I have to focus on a whole bunch of different things. Look at the way I'm answering this question. It's all over the place. And I just think that for me, I need to keep things interesting on the channel for me to continue doing it because it is challenging when you're doing everything by yourself, editing and blah, blah, blah. I don't just want to be talking about sample libraries. I will probably die an early death if I just reviewed the latest thing from XY company or whatever. So that hopefully answers that question. The next question is about this new library that came out from Spitfire called Spitfire Neo. And I got a couple questions about that from people and a few folks over email that were like, are you going to review this library? Are you going to talk about it? Are you going to get it? What do you think? I've kind of hit a wall with Spitfire a little bit. I just feel, and if you follow me on Twitter or whatever, I've left some comments about this. It's getting to the point for me where I don't know what the point is about downloading or buying or another string library from them. And I'm sure that it's awesome. And I'm sure that it sounds like it sounds great. It looks like it sounds great, but I don't know. We're up to like 16 string libraries from Spitfire now, and that's just Spitfire. You've also got East West. You've got a whole bunch of other companies making string libraries. I'm just hitting a wall with string libraries, and I'm kind of wondering, do I need another string library? Do I really need another library. And of course, I want to support Spitfire. I want to support East West. I want to support all these other companies who make string libraries whose names I can't really remember right now. But when the string libraries are expensive, and that's reflected in the work and the sample capture and the company and all that stuff, and you want to support people so they can go off and make even more cool stuff, so you can buy it so they can go off and make even more cool stuff. But with Spitfire, it's like I'm getting like string fatigue, string library fatigue. When they did LCO, I thought that was really, truly a really cool new expression, a new voice for strings. So I jumped on that. And if you've been to the channel, I'm just playing with my drawstrings here. It's just one of me in pajama pants, a little window into my life. I love those. I love that lot. LCO is just incredible. New flavor, new taste. It's won a bunch of awards, but we keep getting these, I don't want to say boring or bland, but we keep getting these kind of standard string libraries from Spitfire and everybody else. And I haven't really seen a new thing, with the exception of maybe Symphobia, which is kind of a different take as far as timing and quantizing and all that stuff goes, but it's still just strings, you know? I think it's time for Spitfire to go subscription. Again, that's what I've been saying on Twitter and stuff. I think I'm kind of there now because I can't try the library. I have to take the walkthrough. I have to take Paul and Christian at their word. And I do. I think they're honest, awesome people, but I can't try that. I can't try the library. I just have to pay a whole bunch of money and download, half a terabyte. I'm exaggerating, and then I can decide if no, it's time, guys. I don't know if I doubt anyone from Spitfire is listening because they're probably fed up with me. It's time for subscription. I mean, I would have thought that the next string library that you guys do would have been subscription, to be like, here's another library, but it's subscription. Welcome. Like, come on board, because we know you want to try this. We know you can't download it. Well, for $14.99 a month or $20 a month at the rate of stuff they've been putting out, you can try everything. Here's everything, fill up your hard drive. Introducing, I when I saw Neo, I thought, new, like a new thing. I thought, here's subscription, here it is, but it's not. It's just another string library. And unless it's something very tonally different, a new instrument, new something, I'm not going to do it. I can't do it. I can't justify another string library. It's just not going to happen. So, I might go back and look at the reviews and listen to the examples and stuff, but I think I've kind of made up my mind and I've put my foot down. So sorry. Very curious to see what else they have on the product roadmap this year. We've just started 2020, so there's probably some really cool stuff coming down the pike, but nope, I can't do it. All right. I'm keeping my eye on a timer here because my camera can only record 30 minutes of video at a time. So I'm going to have to stop and then start again. So maybe the angle will be a little bit different, or I can try to be delicate with it. So the next question comes to me from San Francisco. And this is, sorry, I get emails and they're a little long and I don't have time to synthesize and just cut out just the questions. I'm going to read the whole thing. I know it's annoying, but let's see if I can get through it in a way that's interesting for the both of us. So she writes, "Hi, my name is Annie. I'm currently an undergrad student. My major is in music scoring for visual media. I've been watching your YouTube channel for a month. Thank you so much for creating the channel. It really helps me a lot." Well, you're very welcome. I found your channel last month while I got really frustrated about school in general, kind of depressed and anxious, lack of confidence, and then I found this video. I don't know what this video is. Let me look. Oh, it's How to Trust Yourself. Okay. So she saw that video, which I'll link to. So it's a gem to me. And honestly, the reason I got depressed and anxious is that in my school, people want you to create big epic full orchestra scores, or a very standard thing for visual media. One of the weird thing to me is that people would think scoring literally means using a big epic full orchestra for all genres of visual media, and instructors would critique you in that way. I'm not saying that using full orchestra or writing epic music is wrong, but it seems like it's already becoming an industry standard here, especially in Hollywood or mainstream music / visual media industry. All the music should be big and epic. We have 3 concentrations in the music department, which are just for music scoring for visual media, music production, and sound design. And I have heard many times that my instructors are saying, you guys should be very clear about your major concentration: music composer, writing orchestral epic score, sound design for a film, music editor, etc., etc. And they are, And they are trying to make you become a jack of all trades standard Hollywood composer. If one of your work doesn't sound like a full orchestra thing, then you're probably going to receive a lot of negative critiques or something like you should use a full orchestra. It doesn't sound big, but I always feel like I am not 100% a full orchestral melody driven composer. I like both music and sound. I like ambient, experimental music. What I like about the Icelandic composer, the late great Jóhann Jóhannsson, is that he said his music will always involve music and sound. And my inspirations actually seem to come from Steve Reich, Brian Eno, Olafur Arnalds, Niels Fromm, rather than from John Williams or composers like him. I mean, it's good to listen to different styles, but it just wasn't my personal style or something that I want to do. Anyway, I found that a lot of plugin review from you are also something I'm really interested in, like the Kepler Orchestra, Noir, Olafur Arnold's Chamber Evolutions. And I remember in Noir, you said that this is your bread and butter. People get psyched about Hans Zimmer, and you could care less about that because to you, Niels is Hans Zimmer as a composer's goal. The delicate stuff and spaces in between the notes, I really feel really resonates with this. Even though it's really hard to keep my personal style in school in terms of those limitations and requirements, but I know that's something that will always be with me. Another thing is you have talked a lot about how we treat ourselves, our life, our mindset. I think people won't talk about that as much on YouTube or whatever, music class, but I do think it's extremely important. Anyways, quite a long email, but I want to say thanks for creating the channel. Now, I know there wasn't really a question in there, but I want to address a couple things that Annie said, and thank you, Annie from San Francisco. So it's true that I really don't care about John Williams stuff. I think it's beautifully composed music. I think it's wonderful, and it's colored so many incredible films, and that's kind of the only thing that we remember in some films, like a Star Wars film, for example, which, if you don't know, almost had a disco score before John Williams came in. Remember, Star Wars came out in the 70s, and it was about to have a disco score until at the very last minute they kind of changed all the music. So think about that. That orchestral stuff works a lot. And I don't want to be too negative about it and say, like, don't learn to do it, because I mean, I don't really know how to orchestrate. I don't really know how to write for an orchestra. Even in MIDI, I do my best. The tools make it really easy. And there's some great stuff on Spitfire's website to show you how to do this. But to me, learning how to score for an orchestra, even just in MIDI or whatever, I still think that's kind of valuable. It reminds me a little bit of when I was in audio engineering school, and we all had to learn Pro Tools. And we had to learn Pro Tools because it was the industry standard. And that's still true, guys. I've been around. Every single studio has Pro Tools in it. Now, the big studios do, and that makes sense because they're big studios, and they need people to walk in and be able to do the work, or their session guys or girls or whatever just come in. Everyone knows Pro Tools. It's like speaking English, but not everyone speaks English, and not everyone has a big studio. A lot of work is happening in what are called boutique or project studios. This would be like a project studio. A boutique studio would be something, I don't know, where like, what's the name of that band? I can't. Queens of Stone Age. It's somewhere in Arizona. It's in the middle of the desert. It has a bunch of cool gear, and it's like a boutique studio that people like to go to because it has a vibe and a flavor to record and mix in. So not everyone's using Pro Tools. Just a lot of people are. It's kind of this assumed thing. But I think that it's still a valuable skill to learn, because maybe that's your foot in the door. Maybe your foot in the door is, hey, I know Pro Tools, and then you kind of get to wind in your own DAW later on, or get to work in the way that you want. But being able to say, I can work in Pro Tools is what gets you the gig. So being able to be like, I can compose, I can deliver something close to a Hans Zimmer or, John Williams or something kind of vibe. But then once you establish a relationship with someone or a client or whatever, then you can be like, well, maybe we can try a different direction. Maybe it doesn't have to be like this giant string section and the horns are over here, and then, it's some kind of biblical epic thing every single scene. And there's precedent for that. I mean, watch any premium cable news thing now. Watch a cable show on television. Like I was just watching The Outsider, which is on HBO. That whole show is nothing but like like strings scraping against metal, and it's twisted, it's organic, it's weird. Look at anything that The Social Network. Is it David Fincher? I can't remember who the director is on those films. Everything is Trent Reznor and Atticus. It's all kind of weird, kind of the whole thing about like music and sound fitting in Johan Johansson. So we're not alone. I think if you want to work on the big glossy projects, you're going to have to know how to write for an orchestra. You just don't have a choice because that's what people kind of expect. That's prestige, right? It's like we have the most beautiful cameras and actors and everything and the story. We need to kind of match that up with an orchestra. That's still going to happen. It's still going to, look at all the Avengers movies, right? It's all strings and all that kind of crap. So, but, you've also got these big movies and franchises and video games and so many TV shows now that are using different crayons in the box, all the crayons in the box, not just the three colors, right? Not just strings and brass and woodwinds. They're using different colors. So I think there's space for you, but I think it's helpful to know how to draw with those primary colors, those three crayons, just to get in the door. I think that's valuable. So that would be my answer to your non-question, Annie. I have 4 minutes left on my timer. I'm going to hop behind the camera and just restart it so that we can do another 30 minutes. Hang tight. All right, we're back. Let's get to the next question. So the next one is from Eduardo. He says, my name is Eduardo. I'm going to keep reading. And I'm a bass guitar and double bass player in London. I'm writing you this email as I follow your YouTube channel, and I really like your videos. Thank you, Eduardo. He says, I like the way you work, what you do, and how you teach and explain in the videos. Here in London, I am a music performer. I play live gigs, and it's going really well since I arrived 3 years ago. But lately, I am starting to enjoy the idea of learning music composition for screen. I would like to ask you your advice and return the favor if you'd like. I could send a bass track for free whenever you need it. Thank you, Eduardo. Briefly, I'm watching loads of YouTube videos, preparing myself for the Logic Pro certification. It's the DAW I use. He says, I've started again to practice piano and guitar. I have also a degree in jazz. That's really awesome. And I'm trying to learn slowly the mixing and mastering with videos, for example, from the Produce Like a Pro YouTube channel, reading some books like On the Track, etc. I'm also reading the Adler orchestration book. But I know that composers a la John Williams, Morricone, that I love, are now an exception. I should probably also study deeply synthesizers, getting back to what Annie was talking about, this like moving away from the kind of traditional, kind of pedagogy of the three primary colors. So he says, I would be really interested in knowing what you would suggest me to do for being able to learn the right skills to become a composer for TV, commercials, movie, etc. I have got the doubt that maybe joining a master course, for instance, even at the National Film and TV School in composition for screen would be a perfect way for learning and linking with future colleagues. But it's really expensive, and they require to send before the audition a SoundCloud link with my works that I don't have yet. Is there maybe any specific book or online course that that you've watched, read, or whatever, or any website where I should start uploading my compositions? Till now, it's like I don't find the balls to compose and bounce anything because I don't see a goal, he says. Thanks in advance for your time. I really look forward to hearing from you, Eduardo. So thanks, Eduardo. You sound crazy educated and knowledgeable. And I'm sure the things that you are doing with your computer and with your mind and things that you're creating, composing are better than you think that they are. I think the first, I know this kind of person. I used to be this kind of person, not nearly as educated or cultured. But I used to be this kind of person where I felt like I had a lot of good ideas, but I didn't want to put them down. I didn't want to upload them. I didn't want to do anything because I felt like my stuff wasn't really good enough. It wasn't good enough to be shared with anyone. But, the worst dancer is at a wedding is the one who isn't, is the guy who's sitting down. Like, you're the worst dancer because you're not dancing. You have to put your work up there. It's a really valuable metric, even just for yourself. Like if I go back to my SoundCloud, I'll listen to the stuff that I did when I first started, and it's just a great way to see how far that I've come, and maybe if there isn't a lot of improvement, that's probably a signal too, but I think there is some. You just have to get over it. You have to put your stuff online. You don't have to start a YouTube channel, but for me, it was very validating and satisfying because it was very scary for me to put myself out there, my thoughts, my words, playing the wrong note, having people come after me in the comments for getting something wrong. You develop a thick skin, and you also develop the support of a community. So I would say one place for you to go. It sounds like you're doing enough studying and reading and writing. First, you need to start creating. It's as simple as just like listening to something you like, going and finding it on Apple Music or Spotify or whatever, or finding a CD and then trying to recreate it on your own. It's you think of a band. A band starts by playing other band's songs. That's how they first start. They don't start like just jamming and like let's find. It's like let's cover some songs. What songs do you like? And then you'll cover a band's songs, and then you see how close you can get. And then at some point, someone's like, "Well, I have a couple songs." Like, but you start by copying other people, and that's how you learn to play together and learn to find your voice. As a band, you start by replicating and ripping off other people's stuff. I'm not saying rip it off for money, but find someone that you really like. It seems like you're gonna have to get into synthesizers and stuff, but like even Morricone or John Williams, you can go and listen to their works, see if there's something in there that really speaks to you that you really like and it's kind of manageable. Like you are probably not going to get close if you're going to compare your work with something that was, done by like 1,000 pro players and all that. Find something that's manageable and bite sized that you can recreate with MIDI or even on your own, and then go from there. In fact, I would say if you're working with like double bass and bass guitar, see if you can incorporate that in to what you're doing. Because if that is your first instrument, and MIDI is your second, you're probably more likely to be really engaged with what you're creating if you're playing it on a real instrument that really, matters to you. So I know double bass and bass is kind of like a secondary person. It's not really the main star. That's usually strings or something else. It's kind of a background player. But I think you should try and incorporate that when you are copying someone else to kind of get a feel for composing with computers and all that stuff. The other thing I would say is, there's a lot of people who are online and they are like redoing trailer music. They're redoing music for scenes and stuff like that, because you can just chop out the music. Let's say Batman, The Dark Knight, you can just cut out all of the dialogue and music and sound effects and just add your own in. And then you've got like some picture to work with. And that's a great way to see if you can edit and compose to moving picture and have your hit points and all that stuff. Logic is pretty good at having you dial in the moments during a score once you factor in your BPM and time signature where things need to hit, and then you can compose for that. So you just have to start somewhere. And so a lot of people like doing that. A lot of people like to do recreating scores. What's his name? Ashton Gleckman. He's got a really successful YouTube channel. He's a really good teacher. That guy recreates scores all the time. So you can kind of see how it's made, how it's done. So that's kind of what I would say there. It sounds like academically, dude, I don't know anything about the National Film and Television School. I don't know anything about the Logic certification course, but it sounds like, dude, you're arming yourself intellectually. You're getting ready to create music, but the one thing you're not doing is making music. And you just have to do that. You just have to, for all the reasons that I just very annoyingly, and in a winding way, danced around. You just have to. So, you know what? Make something and send it to me. If you're worried about putting it online, put something on SoundCloud, make it a private link and send it to me, and I can give you feedback on it. But you can't be gun shy about this. You have to put your stuff out. All of you guys have to put your stuff out, and just get ready for criticism or get ready for no one to like it. Doesn't matter. Just put it out, because I'm not saying you're not a composer unless you do that kind of stuff, but like, how are you going to build a body of work if you don't have one? Even if it's not ready yet or whatever, you have to have something to show for, so do it. Write music and put it out there and do that. Next question, last question, comes to me from Jessen. Hey man, I've enjoyed your YouTube channel on music production. I notice you say you're from Toronto. I am also in Toronto. This might not be the best place to contact you about this, but I found your contact on the channel. I'm a sound engineer for live events and a musician, but always recording regular rock and folk stuff. Didn't have any sample libraries, etc. I've been recording and doing music production for a while, but just started getting sample libraries and virtual instruments over the last few years. I'm just getting into composing for film, commercials, and building up my music portfolio. Do you have any pointers on getting work and the best way of getting in the industry? What would you consider your must-have sample libraries, virtual instruments, all of the things I should have to cover my basis for any kind of composing, whether it be commercials, film trailers, film scoring, etc.? I also had a question about music production setup. I have a powerful computer I built, but it's older and does not have USB 3, still USB 2. I'm planning on running Contact 12 Ultimate off an external drive. Will that run all right with USB 2? Should I use an external SSD instead of an HDD to run and store the sample libraries, or should I install a USB 3 card? I run a Hackintosh, blah, 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 blah. If you have any time, that'd be great. Happy holidays. You can tell how long it's been since I've answered some of these questions. So let's get to his first thing, which is, do I have any pointers for getting into the industry and getting work? So I have not written a book on this because I don't know the answer about getting into the industry. It could be as difficult and arduous as, chasing down a director that you want to work with and flattering them. And just knocking on the door and following up as much as possible. Or it could be as crazy as bumping your car into someone and they're like really mad at you. And then you find out they're director and you're like, I'm a composer. It's weird. Everyone is trying to find out how to do this. My advice to you and to everyone watching this would be to find work that you think is really compelling in your area, in your community. Film work. So if you want to compose for films, television is a little, but there's a lot of films being made. Television usually gets to a place where it's on a big professional, streaming or cable service, whereas films are short films, there's feature films with micro budgets and all that stuff. So what I would recommend you do, you're in Toronto, so there's a lot of opportunity here, is to browse Vimeo and search by the filters for Toronto directors, Toronto producers, whatever. Go and watch their films and genuinely watch them and genuinely get into them. And if you have a genuine connection with someone, with a director's work or producer's work, find her or him and tell them, I am a composer. I really love have examples there and be like, can we go for coffee? Or can we go for lunch and buy their lunch? Everyone has to eat. So no one ever says no to lunch, but you can be like, I'm starting out. I'm coming from this background. I want to compose for film. I saw your stuff. This isn't like a job interview. Do it in this way. I want to meet with you just for an informational meeting. I just want to learn about what it's like, for what the filmmaking process is like, how you work with composers. If you have any kind of strategies or advice for me as someone who's looking to get into this stuff, I really like what you were doing. Is there anyone? And just meeting face to face in Toronto, you're so lucky in Toronto. There's so many people. It's so valuable because they can see who you are. They get a vibe. They see people, okay, when they cast the net, people to compose, they send in their resumes and everything. It's just words on a page, dude. And it's a SoundCloud link or something. You meet with them face to face. You establish a rapport and a vibe with them. You vibe well. Then you know someone. And that's really awesome. So I would say, I know a lot of people are doing this. They're going out, they're cold calling. They're like, I watched your Vimeo link. I watched your film. I watched your this. I watched your that. I would say be open to working a little bit not for free, because there should always be a transaction. And the very first video I ever did for this channel was about that. Should you work for free? Let me just check my RX to see how much. I'm good for time. Okay, let me pop back here. Work for free, but as long as something else is coming back. So maybe you're reaching out to a bunch of directors, producers, whatever, and you're saying, I really love what you do. I heard the music in your film. I think mine is better, and I can probably do it for free, as long as I get a credit in there. And then you kind of, you work for a bunch of people, you do it for free, and it goes well, hopefully. And then you've built up a body of work. You built up a resume, which then you can use to leverage paid gigs. I know it's kind of a dirty word that you should never work for free, but if you are starting from scratch, I think working for free, as long as there is something going back and forth, as long as there is a transaction, you should be, I'm okay ethically with working for free as a composer, with coming up with like 5 minutes of music for free. Are you kidding me? The transaction should be, I want a credit, or I want to use this music in my reel. I want to use your footage in my reel too. I used to do that when I was starting. I will work. I'll do a minute, 2 minutes, whatever. We'll sign a contract. We'll meet. We'll get a vibe going, and then I want to make sure that I get it in my resume. And now you have a body of work built up that you can point to on a website. Beautiful, with footage and all this stuff from directors you really like and love, or maybe you don't like them that much, but they gave you some work. And then you use that to get, more paid work, because there's no easy way around it these days. It's really tough to break in to the industry. It's not just the top brass composers now. Now you've got people who used to do maybe some of the bands that you were doing live sound for, Jessen, that, indie rockers that are now getting into film composing. It all started with Trent Reznor. I think that's kind of where it started, where now they're being tapped to do, film work and use some really weird stuff that's kind of unique and a different voice from the Williams and Zimmers and stuff like that. So it's tough. But that would be my suggestion. Work for free a little bit in exchange for credits, build a body of work, and then use that body of work to leverage more paid gigs once you've kind of built that up. That would be my advice on that part of the question. And then he says, what are your go-to sample libraries and all that stuff? I kind of want to farm that out to you guys. I have too many to go through, too many to look through. Obviously, some reputable companies. Fill out the comments below if you're still watching this. Spitfire is one of them. They're great. East West, they've got a nice subscription system. I've done videos on that before. I'd say Albion 1 is maybe kind of all you need to get started. It's kind of a round trip of kind of all the tools, all the elements. Orchestral Tools, who make really great stuff, a little expensive. They have like a kind of beginner starter kind of pack for people looking to get into sample libraries and stuff. And their player is very flexible. They're a great company out of Germany on the Teledeck scoring stage. Show different vibe from Spitfire, who are UK, and East West, who are LA. So there's a couple companies right there. I don't want to like endorse brands or whatever, but I use Spitfire stuff. I use Orchestral Tools stuff. I use a lot of the Native Instruments kind of proprietary and third-party stuff that they do with other companies. Sound Iron is really good. Audio Bro is good. So yeah, there's too many to name, dude. But go through my videos, go through. Daniel James reviews a lot of sample libraries and does a lot of stuff. A guy named Ruben Cornell, I think his last name is. He's still got like a sample cast thing where he goes over all the libraries that are coming out. I don't know how he keeps up with them, but that's his thing. So the next thing is about computers and stuff like that. I'm not really a kind of computer expert. It sounds like you've got something that's sufficient enough. 25 gigs of RAM is good. Yeah, I'm a little kind of ignorant when it comes to good computers. I have a Mac Pro, the trash can. I got it way back in 2013 when it first came out. It was refurbished. I spent a whole bunch of money on it, and it was kind of future-proofed. I have 32 gigs of RAM. It slows down a little bit. That's only because I'm doing everything on this computer. I find the computers that you give one task to and one task only perform a little better than computers that you've got your video editing on, your audio editing, your email, your Facebook, your Canva, Lightroom. That's when it kind of drags down. So it might be time for a new computer. The Mac Pros that just came out are probably way too expensive. It sounds like you've got some knowledge as far as cobbling together something that's competent and for your needs. So maybe you could do that again. I would just say spend your money and your time on the hardware and on your education more than the sample libraries. Just because the sample, they all do the same kind of thing. They're different flavors, there's brand allegiance and all that kind of garbage. But focus really on future-proofing your setup so that you can bring new stuff in once you have money and gigs. But you have a computer that can help you spit out and get down ideas really quickly. I think that's kind of the most important thing, because you can have great ears, great monitors, great headphones, great sample libraries. But if your computer's really stuttering and slow to keep up with you, that's a problem. So I would say invest most of your money into a setup that is reliable, as future-proofed as possible, that can help you work at the hashtag speed of inspiration. Anyway, so how did I do? I think that's it. I think that's it for this video. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you want to reach out to me, I'm at Jeff Manch on Twitter, vodkastpodcaster at gmail.com, vodcast with a K. Vodcast? Yeah, vodcast with a K, pretty sure. Podcaster with a C, obviously. But thank you so much for watching. Leave comments, questions below. I'll get to them in half a year. And take care.